各位觀眾大家好，歡迎收睇26分鐘見證實錄。新移民嚟到加拿大，學習英語咧係融入社會嘅重要一步。而溫哥華社區學院 VCC 提供簡稱為 Link 課程啊，過去數十年嚟一直咧都幫助唔同背景嘅移民去適應新生活。但係啊，呢一個長期以嚟嘅免費英語培訓計劃，就因為聯邦政府嘅撥款變更而面臨被取消嘅危機㗎。Link 計劃嘅宗旨啊，唔單止影響咗800多名正在學習嘅學生，亦都導致大量嘅教職員被裁減。點解政府會突然改變資助方向？呢一項決定又係點樣影響到新移民嘅適應過程呢
Okay, so IRCC has said we're reducing immigration numbers, therefore we need to cut this program at 22 different organizations in BC alone. So keep in mind that Link is being cut all across Canada.
But you cannot change the rules in the middle. So we have people who are already here who are now being left out in the cold. And that is just wrong.
Where will the 800 students go? If there is no education, it means no opportunities. Keep our link, keep our link, keep our link, keep our link.
嚟到加拿大，語言係融入社會嘅一道重要嘅門檻。為咗幫助新移民適應本地生活，聯邦政府設立咗加拿大新移民語言培訓課程 Link。俾符合資格嘅移民，包括永久居民同埋獲難民庇護者，學習日常英語，提升溝通能力，並了解本國嘅文化同埋社會價值。喺課程入面，學員唔單止會學習基本嘅聽、說、讀、寫技能，仲能夠掌握求職技巧，例如撰寫履歷、面試準備，以及點樣去使用公共嘅服務。課程根據加拿大語言能力標準 CLB 分為1至8級。學員喺正式入學之前，要先通過政府指定嘅語言評估測試，以確保英語水平，並分配到合適嘅班級。
So the program has definitely adapted depending on who has been coming. So all the way from back when we had so-called Vietnamese boat people that were coming to Canada, and more recently we had the Ukrainian situation. So whatever wave of immigration has come up, and those groups of people have come in, we've adapted, we've learned about how we can best suit that particular group of people while continuing to support the students that we already have here. So yeah, the program's been very, very important to the students.
任職溫哥華社區學院 Link 部門主管嘅 Maureen Calvert 表示，溫哥華社區學院自1965年成立以嚟，一直致力於為新移民提供英語培訓課程。喺近60年嚟，學院透過 Link 協助無數嘅新移民提升英語能力，順利融入本地社會。
Our courses, because they address all sorts of issues, well, their needs assessment based, and so the teacher will ask at the beginning of the term, okay, who wants to study what this term? And so if a lot of the students are saying, oh yeah, we want to be able to get a better job or get a job, then the teacher will focus on that for part of the class so that they can learn how to, the best ways of getting a job here in our area. Or if they say, well, no, I need to be able to talk to my doctor, or to be able to talk to the teacher at school about my kids. All of those things are addressed. So it is a settlement program, and the teacher will ask all of the students what they need, and then that is what will be addressed in that class, that term.
Maureen 指對好多新移民嚟講 ，Link 唔單止係一個英語課程，更係一座橋梁，幫助佢哋融入社會、建立人脈，甚至為未來嘅職場發展打下基礎。
And I should add that VCC has gotten a reputation. Like if you ask students and you say, well, how did you find out about us? So they do an initial assessment at any of the language assessment centers that were set up for Link. But a lot of times they just hear from friends or family or whoever. They say, oh yeah, go to VCC. VCC is the place to go. They've got excellent teachers, lots of services for the students. And so we've been able to, just because we've been here for so long, we've been able to put together a program that meets the needs of those students today. This is what they need today, and this is what will help them navigate their way in Canada.
特别是说英语的人，我们没法交流，只能用那个翻译，所以说这样的话对生活方面可能非常大的影响。因为对于我来说的话， 我的弊病可能就是英语是我的短板，可能其他方面都还好，因为我生活的适应能力非常强。但是呢，确实没有英语这个基础的话，就是觉得生活非常的困难。特别是我们家孩子上学，我要跟老师沟通就非常困难，所以这个也是非常大的影響。最大的就是可能跟老師溝通是非常困難。
而家就讀第2級別嘅學生 Helen 表示，最初啱啱嚟到加拿大嘅時候，語言障礙對佢嘅生活帶嚟好大嘅困難，尤其係喺同本地以英語為母語嘅人交流嘅時候。然而透過 Link 課程嘅學習，佢逐漸咁建立咗自信，仲透過課程結識咗嚟自唔同原居地嘅同學。語言環境嘅轉變令到佢更加積極咁使用英語，進一步提升溝通嘅能力。
所以說 Link 對我的幫助還是比較大，它能夠讓我勇敢地去說出來。說哪怕我不會，可能我說老師會跟我糾正，但是以前是不敢說，也就是說出去怕說錯嘛，所以說就不敢說。對我們的弊病就是這個問題，年大了，還有一個可能就是在記憶力方面就差一些。所以說現在呢，通過這個 Link， 我也認識了不同國家的人，這樣的話就促使語言不通，那我們就憋着說英語，就說自己母語就相對來說就說得少一些。
Link 課程唔單止係語言學習嘅橋樑，更係一個幫助新移民融入社會嘅重要平台。教授 Link 7級同8級課程嘅溫哥華社區學院講師 Cheryl Horrigan 表示，呢啲課程為學生提供超越基礎語言能力嘅全面培訓，幫助佢哋適應職場、學術環境同埋社區生活。
We teach, we design materials, we design assessments for a full range of competencies that people would use in a country. So they interact with other people, they understand and give instructions, written, spoken, they persuade, they get things done, they argue for things, they argue against things, and then they share information in either speaking or writing, which is more of that kind of the presentation, or may it be the discussion or the essay. So that kind of work is what learners would usually do in a high school class.
然而喺去年底，聯邦政府對 Link 項目削減資金，導致溫哥華社區學院被迫取消為新移民提供免費英語培訓課程，課程亦面臨關閉嘅危機，將影響住超過800名嘅在讀學生以及30多名嘅教職員嘅工作。好多嘅學員嘅學習之路變得更加唔確定。為咗抗議課程突然取消，多名嘅學生同埋講師喺今年1月中喺校園內舉行示威集會。佢哋強調 Link 課程多年嚟幫助無數嘅新移民學習英語、尋找工作，甚至準備申請公民身份。
I am student of Link program in VCC. I am in Link 3. Recently, I found out the government cut this program. I was upset to hear this news. We need the Link program to get a job, make friends, study English, and better understanding government, financial, and medical and other systems. The Link program in VCC allow us to adapt quickly to Canadian culture and to present our achievement of this society. We indeed need it. Please save the Link program in VCC.
Like you, we all deserve a chance to succeed. And let me say this. The Link program, the language training program at VCC is bar none. It is one of the best programs in this country. It has supported so many students, such a wide network. And guess what? The programs coming out of VCC, the language training program from VCC, is one of the most successful programs because after you finish the training, over 90% of their students secure employment. Isn't what education is all about? It is about making sure that we have opportunities. It is about exactly that. Where will the 800 students go? If there is no education, it means no opportunities.
代表溫哥華東選區國會議員兼聯邦新民主黨移民、難民及公民事務評論員關慧貞當日亦參與咗集會。佢指聯邦自由黨政府嘅削減計劃卻缺乏過渡嘅方案，導致800多名嘅學生頓失方向。佢批評呢項決定等同於限制新移民嘅語言學習機會，並進一步阻礙佢哋喺本地嘅就業發展。
Well, the immigration levels plan numbers, the government is supposed to use those projections for the future years. But this funding, they were cutting it actually back in December. The reality is that these students are already here. And what is the government's transition plan? There's some 800 students right now at Vancouver Community College. There's zero transition plan whatsoever. Where are they supposed to go? The other thing that people are not talking about with these cuts is that they're limiting the level of English that people can learn to LB5. And so that's your very basic level of English language. Going beyond that, they will no longer fund those programs anywhere in this country. And so what that means is that newcomers will have limited access to English language training, and that will also limit their career opportunities.
而聯邦移民、難民及公民部就語言培訓課程資金削減一事，以電郵回覆本台查詢時就話，由於預期新移民人數減少，移民部喺全國範圍內減少咗部分嘅服務機構嘅資助，導致溫哥華社區學院等教育機構被迫縮減或取消部分 Link 課程。而目前資助週期同合約將喺2025年3月31日結束，屆時政府將根據最新嘅安頓需求以及現有嘅服務使用狀況重新評估未來嘅資金分配。然而移民部並未明確回應針對現有新移民仍然需要嘅語言培訓，但課程已經被削減嘅問題，亦未提供具體嘅代替方案嚟幫助受影響嘅學生。對此，受影響嘅學生同埋教師希望政府能夠重新審視 Link 計劃嘅資助政策，以確保新移民獲得充分嘅語言學習機會，順利融入本地社會。
喺聯邦政府嘅撥款變動之下， Link 計劃未來嘅命運會係點？而受影響嘅學生同老師又將會點樣去應對呢？我哋下一節翻嚟繼續探討。歡迎翻嚟節目時間。溫哥華社區學院 Link 課程唔單止係語言學習嘅機會啊，更加係新移民融入社區嘅重要橋梁。現時計劃面臨取消，好多嘅學生同埋老師都擔心未來嘅出路。
課程遭到取消，對學生唔單止部分人無法獲取專業資格或者申請公民嘅身份，亦剝奪咗佢哋提升自己嘅機會。Cheryl 指呢個課程長期以嚟享有良好嘅聲譽，部分嘅畢業生憑藉住 VCC 頒發嘅 Link 證書，順利進入卑斯省一啲嘅專上學府。如今資金缺口冇人填補，學生冇其他嘅選擇，批評當局唔負責任且缺乏尊重。
It's really disrespectful. It's very unprofessional. And what they've done is they've left people, learners, completely high and dry. There's the group that need the certificate to get into healthcare programs or whatever else that were close to being finished. Don't know what they'll do now. There are people that need it for citizenship. And there are people who want to be able to say to themselves, I did this, I came here, I had these low levels, look at me now. And they can actually use that for, I've known students who go to BCIT with their Link certificate, and it's unofficial, but they'll say, yep, you came from VCC, Link, we'll give you a test, but we're pretty sure you're going to get into this program. So the program has had a fabulous reputation and it's been meaningful. There is no funding gap that's been filled. There's nothing else for people to go to. And it is completely irresponsible and disrespectful of the federal government to cut this.
Cheryl 指，如果 Link 課程喺溫哥華社區學院取消，好多想學習英語嘅學生將被迫轉向其他嘅選擇，例如高中升級課程或者學術準備課程。然而，呢啲嘅課程嘅重點都唔一定符合新移民喺職場同埋日常生活中所需嘅實際需求。
So when people aren't in a Link program and they want to learn English, they are probably in a high school upgrading class where they're doing a lot of that, understanding essays, writing essays, understanding a short story, analyzing an article or a magazine opinion piece, understanding poetry. So that's the kind of thing that you do if you have to go to a high school upgrading class, designed for people who didn't finish high school or need better marks. The other kind of programming that is typically available is academic programming. Maybe you go to a college and you do the last little bit for academic entry, and you learn how to footnote, and you learn how to do research, and you basically focus on writing, maybe reading a bit, maybe listening to some academic lectures.
對於失去 Link 課程嘅學生嚟講 ，Pathways 計劃或者係一個替代嘅選擇，特別係對於希望喺職場重新發展嘅專業人士。然而，呢項計劃同樣面臨限制。
It was designed for internationally trained professionals wanting to establish themselves in the workplace, and it does that. And they will need to absorb a lot of the Link students. And it's a great program in that it also gives high school equivalency for grade 12, which is excellent. But the wait lists for that are going to be very, very long because the provincial government has not stepped up and they have not put in any more funding for Pathways. So we have the federal government who, out of the blue, have cut this Link program. And they've also not only cut VCC's entire Link program of over 50 years, 800 students, some levels with wait lists, all of this expertise in Western Canada. They've also not made it clear what other centres can offer 7 and 8. And it's looking like there's not going to be 8, and there might not even be much of 7 anywhere in the province, a couple places in the province.
溫哥華社區學院正積極同其他提供 Link 課程嘅組織保持聯繫，並向學生提供可用資源嘅最新資訊。然而，即使其他機構亦名額有限，而目前1至4級嘅學生最需要幫助，卻面臨最大嘅挑戰。
Yeah, so we've been in touch with other organizations that put on Link, and so we're letting them know. Obviously, they already know, but we let them know in early days. We just said, hey, this is what's happened to us, just so you know. Some of the organizations also shared with us what was happening to them, and so we're just giving the information to students about what will be available to them, as I mentioned before. So we do have the other department here where some of our students would be able to go. Again, that's not a Link program. And then we're also letting them know about other organizations.
So many centres have had their numbers cut for classes that even if, yes, there's classes for 4, 5, 6, whatever, even lower, they're not going to have the spaces for the learners who are at VCC to get into. And then the ones from 1 to 4 are the most disadvantaged because they don't have the help, they don't know where they're going, and they need the most assistance.
呢一次嘅資金削減背景係聯邦政府對新移民數量嘅調整。根據最新嘅移民計劃，2025年新增永久居民人數將降至395000人，較此前嘅50萬嘅目標下調咗21%，並計劃喺2026年同埋2027年進一步減少至38萬同埋37萬。聯邦政府認為移民減少將降低對語言培訓嘅需求，因此削減咗相關嘅資金。然而，呢種預測可能低估咗實際嘅需求。即使新移民人數減少，現有嘅新移民仍然需要語言教育同埋支持，以順利適應本地社會。
Okay, so IRCC has said we're reducing immigration numbers, therefore we need to cut this program at 22 different organizations in BC alone. So keep in mind that Link is being cut all across Canada, mostly in BC and Manitoba, but so for BC it's 22 different organizations. So that means that there's a lot less space for students and a way for them to go.
So when people are learning to do that and they're taking those steps, and then you just pull the rug right underneath them and say, oh, well, in 8 weeks you don't have classes anymore, and we don't know where you can go.
VCC 教師協會主席 Frank Costco 就話：呢個決定令到師生感到措手不及。佢認為課程結束後，校方應該為學生制定適應計劃， 確保佢哋唔會因為政策變動而失去學習嘅機會。佢並呼籲相關當局盡快恢復資金，以便令到學校有足夠嘅時間進行妥善規劃。
They should stop the idea to cut in April. Take maybe 1 year to think about their plan. If Ottawa doesn't want to do it, okay, give the program to Victoria. Let the BC government do it. And because the BC government does lots of education work, maybe that's a good way to go in the future. But we need time to talk about this. Just cut like that with no conversation, no plan is worst way to do. So there's many alternatives, but we need time.
項目面臨削減，唔單止影響住學生，亦對教職員帶嚟衝擊。學院已經有多名嘅教師收到解僱通知，行政人員即將被逼轉至其他嘅部門。教職員認為政府應該提供至少1年嘅過渡期，俾現有嘅學生完成課程，減少影響。
As far as the faculty goes, so I think it was around 28 of our teachers were given layoff notices. And so we do have another department here, the EAL department. It only has levels 5 to 9, so not for the lower levels. It is not a linked program, so it's not settlement-based, although they do some of the same kind of topics that we do, but it's a prescribed curriculum, and also just for those higher levels, but also they don't get the link certificate as they do in link. So it's not the same program, it's a different one. Some of our students, the higher level ones, might be able to go into that program, but you can imagine we have 800 students. There's no way that they're going to be able to take in all of those students. And so that's why they laid off that number of teachers, because they're seeing that going forward, they don't foresee that they will need as many teachers. So there's a large number of teachers that are being laid off.
Cheryl 表示，校方正努力確保其他英語課程嘅持續運作，但由於學院嘅財務壓力增加，學院無法自行承擔冇資金支持嘅課程，除非省政府嘅資助，否則無法開辦更多新課程承擔。
The college is not in any position to run a deficit anymore, so we've already lost money with other programs at VCC because of the international funding and students being cut, and international students that are going to have to go back, and if they're going back to their country, if they're going back to India or whatever, they're not finishing the VCC program, so we have other programs at risk. The college is doing everything it can, but there's no money to run classes for which there's no funding. So that's not going to happen until Victoria steps up. And so yes, the Pathways Department could attempt to accommodate some of our mid-level to higher level people. They can't accommodate the lower level linked students because Pathways doesn't start till level 5. But it's not the will of the college or the people here. They're putting on information sessions, they're putting out wait lists, they're going to do what they can. But unless the funding's there, the class isn't there.
佢認為無論係聯邦或者省府都應該揾方法，俾正需要語言訓練課程嘅新移民繼續獲得相應嘅教育資源。
It's easy for people to go back into a hole and just sort of stay within their own cultural and ethnic and linguistic community, and you know, it's good enough. I can go shopping, I can go to the bank. They are not reaching their potential if we do this. So if we can find a way to get them into a program, either to get IRCC to give us some temporary funding, and even if it's not VCC, if it's somewhere at the level 7 and 8, to keep those numbers up and to do the cuts next year commensurate with the numbers of immigrants that they have put for the quota, and just backdate the timing by a year.
So our first ask is that IRCC reconsider what they have done and say, hey, we've made a mistake, we'd actually like to reinstate. Our second ask would be, well, if you're not going to do that, at least give us more time so that we can more gradually shut down the program if that's what we end up having to do. The third ask is, okay, if IRCC is not going to do anything, then we are hoping that the provincial government will step up and say, hey, we understand there is a need to support the newcomers that are here and that will be coming. And hopefully they will say, okay, we're going to be doing some extra funding for VCC and other organizations.
好啦，今集嘅節目時間就差唔多啦。咁如果觀眾對我哋嘅節目有啲乜嘢意見嘅話，係好歡迎大家以電郵嘅方式同我哋聯絡㗎。 我哋嘅電郵地址係 mag26@fairchildtv.com。如果觀眾想上網重溫今集嘅節目，亦都可以上去我哋嘅網站3w.fairchildtv.com， 點擊節目重溫一欄就係睇得返㗎啦。下星期同樣時間再同大家見面，晚安。